Hi guys, welcome to Apple Insider. I'm Mark Ellis and this is the iPad mini. I've waited ages for this redesign. Of all the iPads, I always thought that the mini deserved the Pro redesign. And that's obviously the smaller bezels, the squared off design. It's just this lovely little slab of aluminium. And since I've had it, it's become my main note-taking device of choice, thanks to the Apple Pencil 2. But it's also become the main iPad I use for consuming content. But I do think Apple has missed a few things with this iPad mini redesign. And there's 5 that I want to talk about today. Firstly, MagSafe. Now, obviously, the most recent iPhones, the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 13, have MagSafe on the back of them, which is basically a magnet built into the casing, which you can't see, but which allows you to attach a whole bunch of accessories to. So, for example, the wallet attaches nicely, and more recently, the MagSafe battery pack, which, okay, is a little bit unwieldy on the iPhone 13 mini, but it's just a nice use of magnet technology, if that's what you call it. Now, I think Apple should have put MagSafe in the back of the new iPad mini. And the reason for that is simple. It's lovely that this has USB-C. I'm a massive fan of USB-C, but to have another charging method, which is completely invisible, you can't see it, it doesn't include any additional bulk to the device itself, but to have that in there would just be another way of charging this iPad. And when it comes to all of these devices, charging convenience is absolutely key. Now, I wouldn't really expect you to be able to use the MagSafe battery pack on it. That would look a bit odd. But you can imagine being able to just attach the charging MagSafe puck to the back of it. That'd be great. And it opens up a huge amount of possibilities to people far smarter than me who can come up with innovative ways of using MagSafe. I just think it should have been in this. I think that's a bit of an own goal there, Apple. Now, one of the most significant changes Apple made to the iPad mini was moving the Touch ID button, which was originally on the home button here, to the power button on the top. Great move. They did that with the iPad Air 4, but I do miss Face ID. And as much as I like the convenience of having Touch ID there when the iPad is flat on a surface, so you don't have to kind of look over it to get it to recognize your face, it's a bit annoying when you're holding it like this. So if you're sat on the couch, for example, or in bed watching something, I'm still used to my phone and my iPad Pro recognizing my face. Now, I've had the iPad Air 4 for a year now, and I still haven't really got used to Touch ID being there. I still have to remind myself to use it. It hasn't become as intrinsic as Face ID, because with Face ID, there's no need to touch anything. You just look at the device and it unlocks. Now, I can guarantee with the new iPad mini that there will be design considerations and also cost considerations for not including Face ID, but I'd love to see Face ID on the next iPad mini redesign. Now, the iPad mini isn't cheap. I bought this one, this is the base level one, the cheapest one you can get, for £479 in the UK. That's not a cheap iPad. That puts it out of reach for a lot of people. And yes, you're getting a very good iPad for this. You know, you're getting the latest chip in there. It's faster in theory, or it's got a more powerful processor than the iPad Air 4, but you're really paying for it. And where this seems to have gone a little bit weird is with the storage choices. So with this new iPad mini, you go either for 64 gigabytes or 256 gigabytes, and the 256 gigabytes takes it up to, in the UK, £619. There's nothing in between. There's no 128 gigabyte option, and that's made even stranger by the fact that the iPhone 13 starts with 128 gigabytes. That doesn't make sense, Apple, and it all relates to price. So you can imagine if there was a 128 gigabyte version of the new iPad mini, you'd then have a mid-tier price, which I think at $479 would be fine, but then you'd have the lower end version, the 64 gigabyte version, for less. Let's say they take off £100, $100. That puts it into more realistic territory for a lot of people. And the fact that it is so expensive does reveal why the 9th generation normal iPad with the great big bezels and the home button is such a good deal. I was kind of hoping that the new iPad mini would be more, okay, not quite as cheap as this version, the 9th generation, but somewhere, like I say, $100 more. It's just a bit too expensive for a lot of people. Now, waterproofing. The iPhone 13 has an IP68 water and dust resistance rating, and that means it can go to a maximum depth of 6 meters for 30 minutes. Now, by comparison, iPads have never had an official IP rating, and you can kind of see why that's the case, because for iPads of this size, you know, the iPad Air or the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, you're unlikely to be in situations where you need waterproofing. But because this iPad mini is so small and so portable, I think you may find yourself in situations where a bit of waterproofing would add the peace of mind that you need. My idea with this iPad mini, which is working out fantastically so far, is for it to be a kind of companion device to my iPhone 13 mini. This has a very small screen, it's great for a lot of stuff, but it's not great for content consumption and that kind of stuff. So my idea was to have the iPad mini as the fill-in for that, the kind of consumption device. And that means that I can occasionally find myself in situations where it might be raining and I would just like the peace of mind that it's not going to get damaged. I'm not going to go diving with this, that isn't the point at all. It's just to have an official IP rating would give you a bit of, as I say, peace of mind that it's not going to get damaged if it happens to rain or if you happen to spill your glass of water over it. Of all the iPads at Apple, this one needs an IP rating. Right, hear me out on this one. You'll think I'm mad, and please let me know in the comments what you think. You'll probably disagree with me, but I have thought about this quite a bit. I would love there to be a mini version of the Magic Keyboard case for the iPad mini 6. Now hear me out please, because I know it seems daft. This is such a small device. You imagine the keyboard, it's going to be tiny, but there's something about the ability to have a little keyboard, not built for long stretches of typing, you're not going to be typing out War and Peace on this. Just the idea of having a small keyboard where you can finger type and use it for things like emails. Moments where you need to have a keyboard, really. It's just nice to have a keyboard. I hate the on-screen keyboard on iPads. I much rather type on a proper keyboard. And the idea of there being a little Magic Keyboard case for this is quite exciting. Now, technically, you can add any Bluetooth keyboard to this, so I could connect this Magic Keyboard to it, but that's a bit of a strange setup to be taking with you, whereas a Magic Keyboard case acts as a case, obviously, but would have that built-in keyboard if you needed it. Equally, it could be a terrible idea, but it would at least be an option. It would also be ridiculously expensive, knowing Apple, but there you go. So those are my 5 wishes for the next version of the iPad mini. But what about you? Have you got one of these now? And if so, what are you missing from it? Or have you completely skipped this generation because it doesn't quite do what you want it to do? Let us know in the comments what Apple should be doing or what they should have done with the iPad mini 6. I think this is, just to confirm, a brilliant tablet. It is my favourite iPad of the last 4 or 5 years, and I don't see myself ever putting it down. So these wishes, they're a bit, like I say, they're not deal breakers for me. They would just be nice to have, so I would love to see it iterated in that way. But yeah, let us know what you think, guys, in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe, hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of the Apple Insider content, and we'll see you in the next video.